Now, episode 7 of Prison School definitely surprised me, a little bit, because we see that the student council, they are now picking on, Four Eyes and Andre, because last week, they were messing with Joe, and obviously, Shingo is definitely in their good graces, so of course they're not gonna bother him, and of course Kiyoshi here already got, what came to him when he had got their prison sentence extended. But we see at the beginning of the episode, we have Shingo here now having his day out, but first he has some job to do, for the vice president. But before he did that, he had went to an arcade and he played some kind of fighting game. Now, I do believe that this fighting game, was like some kind of ripoff of Street Fighter, because you could definitely recognize, a character that like he was using. But we see now this guy got his butt kicked by a girl who also went to their school, and this girl, was obviously cutting class, and we do learn that that she was a second year, but like her and Shingo, they like these two hit off right off the bat, and that right there surprised me. And we see this girl definitely was like showing off some cleavage because Shingo had noticed that, and we have this girl calling him out on it. But I was like definitely shocked to see that this girl being a second year would like even talk to Shingo, because obviously she knows that like he's a prisoner at their school because she goes to it, and of course most girls tend to like stay away from these guys now. So I was definitely shocked that like these two were talking, and much less hit it off. But we see that when Shingo had came back, obviously because he could not stay as much as he wanted to, we see now that at one point he had went to the bathroom, because earlier in the episode we see that like Four Eyes, he was in there admiring his figurine, and the blade tip had fell off. And so now we see that when Shingo had used the bathroom, of course he had found that. And so now we see once again we have the vice president and Shingo hanging out, and we see that the vice president is definitely a pretty good cook, but obviously she like even though she could cook pretty well, it definitely does not save her from mistakes, because not only did we see her practically burning herself with that grease. And that right there, once again caused a very, very fan service scene where we have her. First it was about that root beer hers, because we saw that when she opened it, it had obviously it been shaken up, because Shingo did say that he had to run back, and we see it now get all over her, and we see now that when she was cleaning herself, we have her wiping her just in between her legs, and of course we have the censorship ruining it, but obviously it was still kind of like pretty graphic, especially when she got between her legs. Now I'm not complaining obviously, but I will say that the vice president character is definitely kind of like reduced, because I cannot take her seriously when she has so much fan service around her, and of course when she gets all sweaty as well. But we see that when she was cooking and afterwards we have her biting her mouth, and this girl should have known better that of course it was going to be hot, because she just cooked it. But now we see once again she was like teasing Shingo, because obviously this guy loved her cooking, or she just loved good food, and she would not give him some unless obviously, he has some good information for her. And we do learn now that at first, he had nothing till he found that sword. And so now we see that, when he showed it to her, obviously that right there was not good enough. But when she found out that, it was actually from the restroom floor, that right there caused her, to throw it away. But we see it land and the food that she has served the president and Hannah. And so now we see that when the underground student council were like having their tea time, at one point the president had accidentally grabbed that toy sword that was like from the restroom floor and put it in her mouth. And I won't lie, I was like dying laughing. And obviously, the vice president, when she had recognized that, she knew that, there was no way she could ever, tell her the truth. And so we see, once again, while she was thinking that at first, we saw her break out in sweat, but when she had calmed down and knew that like she could never tell her, that right there is what made her calm down. And so now we see, obviously, we have the vice president, doing research, because obviously this sword came from somewhere. And of course, when like Shingo had told her that, he found it in the restroom, obviously, it came from somewhere. And so now we see at one point, like after she did her research, she had went to the bathroom and like snooping around, and eventually, she had found the figure. And so right now, that right there, was like a part of her new master plan to pretty much get, Four Eyes to admit that he was a part of the breakout, and that right there would extend, their prison time. And so now we see once again Shingo, he was able to leave once again, but this time when he went back to the arcade. And also that arcade has a very familiar name, GameSpot. Obviously, it's like definitely very similar to GameStop. But we see this time when he went back to the arcade, that girl was not there, and so obviously he can now focus on the game, because really all he wanted was to see her. But this time she had came from behind him, and we see them now, or we see her trying to like play for him, but he still lost. And now we see these two are like hanging out, and eventually they get ice cream. And so now we see that this girl pretty much asked him out on a date, because she had these free tickets for a movie. I believe it's called Attack of the Violent Grapes. And we see that these grapes, they were like aliens, and we see them now, shooting lasers and crushing humans. I was surprised that, they even showed that, especially with how much, they censor, they censor all fan service, but yet they don't sense, like people being crushed to death by grapes. That right there, just like blows my mind. But we see obviously Shingo, he could not go today because he did have to go back, but we did see that the girl really wanted to like go with him, and so she gave him her scrunchie, and she said that whenever he is free to like leave it on the school fence, and that right there, will let her know when they could go and meet up once again. And so now going back to school, where we have, our characters working, we see now that the vice president and the president, they finally made their move, and now we see that, they were, rewarding the boys with these snacks, and they gave them like 1 peanut each. But when it came to like Four Eyes getting his, we see now that we have Meiko, the vice president, she had gave him that toy sword. And so now we see obviously that right there sending red flags to Four Eyes and to Kyoshi. And so right now they were like trying to get Four Eyes to admit that he had some part in this, so that way, they could, extend their prison time. But obviously Four Eyes would not rat him out, and we see that, that the vice president had no choice but to take, like drastic measures, because we see that at first she had that figure, between her tits, but then she had pulled out the horse and was like actually sitting on it, and I was surprised that little horse did not, be crushed at once. But we obviously that it was, like very, very training on it. And then she actually put the figure on as well, and was like sitting on them both. And we see now that, Four Eyes, he had some kind of dream about the figure of the man, who it was. And so we see that, eventually he could not take it. And we even have Kyoshi, about to step in and admit that like it was him. But we see Four Eyes actually take the figure, from under her. And of course, you might think that this right here would be him, admitting to it. But obviously that wasn't it. As we see him breaking that precious figure that he wanted so badly. And that right there had like foiled their plan. And I was like so shocked to see that like he would go that far to not get them in any more trouble. But that right there is why I call for like the ultimate bro, because he is definitely someone that, at least I can respect. but now we see that when, you know, Kyoshi and 4 Eyes like walking off, obviously that right there pretty much, you know, just kills him. But now we have Shingo coming back, and eventually he does find the sword, and we see, you know, Shingo was the one who like blabbed that, you know, he had found it in the restroom floor. And obviously when the president heard that, you know, she actually passed out. And now we see that, you know, when she you know, was conscious, we have her and the vice president in the bathroom, and obviously, you know, she was like cleaning her mouth out, especially, you know, after that. And we see that, you know, that the vice president had actually wanted to be punished, you know, for what she did, but we have the president here not really doing anything, pretty much giving her like the cold shoulder, and eventually, you know, pretending that like she don't even exist, because we see that while Hannah and the president will like have a tea time once again, we have the vice president, you know, Meiko, coming in there with like with this very heavy looking, you know, like crop, and we see her now bending over so that the president can hit her, and we see her now pretty much ignoring her, and eventually, you know, when like her and Hannah leave, we have the president, you know, still there reflecting on what she did. But not only that, we see that, you know, to punish her, you know, to punish the vice president, you know, we have the president herself giving her like this very, very small uniform. And so we see now at the next day when like all the workers started working and they saw her, obviously they were shocked. And I was like definitely shocked to see that like this shirt did not bust open, because obviously, you know, Meiko has some very huge tits. I was surprised that little shirt, you know, could contain them. But now we see Andre, you know, he had messed up because he had left some shovel, you know, staying up in the ground. And so we see that when he had went to the vice president, you know, to punish him, she was not doing anything. And every time, you know, Andre would like mess him on purpose, you know, we have the vice president, you know, ignoring him, or, you know, just not hurting him. And so eventually that right there was like wearing him down, because obviously, you know, he does want to be hit and abused by her, and yet she was like doing nothing. And we see that like somehow every time Andre would like write in his diary, you know, his slave diary, the president would like get it and read it herself. And obviously, you know, they were getting this, you know, for their master plan. And obviously when Andre had enough, you know, that right there gave them, you know, the sign to move to their final phase. But also there was like one scene where we have, you know, the vice president uniform almost, you know, like calling her to pass out, and we have Chio coming in, to help her. And so now we see that when she took her into the room and gave her a glass of water, and you know, and this being Meiko, she had drunk that water so sloppy like a whore. Like I said, to me, Meiko is definitely, you know, like nothing but fan service and sweat at this point. But we have Chio finding that DTO manual, and obviously now she knows what they're up to. And of course, you know, she was also outside the door, you know, listening to them. So I do hope that like Chio will, you know, intervene and, you know, and stop them, or at least, you know, warn the boys about this, so that way their plan, you know, will obviously fail. But overall, for episodes, to me, was like definitely good, even though I cannot stand Shingo. And also, you know, Shingo definitely got, you know, like very upset when 4 Eyes did admit to like helping Kyoshi with that breakout. But we have Joe and Andre, you know, pretty much taking 4 Eyes' side, which is like definitely good. So right now Shingo is like definitely on his own, and I do feel that right there, you know, will come back to bite him. But overall, a very enjoyable ep, like always. You know, I'm definitely shocked to see Andre's character, you know, go in this direction. But of course, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.